So what did you guys do to make sure that you are not exploited? Is there something on your part? Your part, I mean the people from the south, that you made sure from right from the beginning, this is not going to be something that will because I'm seeing multiple options there. They could have taken the data, that indigenous knowledge, they could have patented it. So what did you guys do to make sure that this thing is equal?
First is they were the funding
Yeah.
was meant to sponsor PhD students.
Right.
So over the 5 years, we produced so many PhDs, we produced so many masters,
Right. Okay.
masters,
Mm.
and out of those, we produced so many journal articles that would benefit, our own students,
Right.
but also our own farmers and scholars.
Mhm.
One of the things that we did in Kenya,
Mhm.
particularly as part of the project, was engage in agricultural communication. And
Yeah.
as part of that research was going on to radio and using the knowledge that we had generated from the research to communicate with farmers to tell them what it is that we had found out. So, for example, research in Kandara, and this is in Muranga,
Right.
research in
Mhm.
Tharaka-Nithi, research in Embu. And we used radio stations in those places, and this was a local language radio stations.
So basically, the knowledge you produced came back to
Yes,
help you guys.
benefited the
Okay.
farmers. And
Right.
we actually did an endline survey where we went back and asked the
Uh-huh.
farmers, did you
Yeah.
listen to these programs? What do you think benefited you out of, the programs that you listened to? Can you apply the knowledge
Mhm.
that you have, for example, gained the knowledge that you've acquired from the radio stations? And many of them were actually very happy.
Okay.
And some of the people that were involved in the radio programs were local people, local scientists, and people
Mhm.
that worked in those communities.
So I'm hearing the second thing is that you made sure that the staff in the project were local.
Yes.
What they paid, if you could say, fairly as compared to their Western counterparts.
Maybe not as compared to their Western counterparts, because I don't know what their Western counterparts
Okay.
earn.
But by
But
market rates in
by
Kenya?
market rates, because it's, for example, local extension officers, for
Uh-huh.
instance, people that are not remunerated well by
Mhm.
the government at the moment,
Okay.
people that are retired from being extension officers, people that work in plant pathology, for example, or animal husbandry. And these
Mhm.
are then people that are knowledgeable
Okay.
in these matters,
Mhm.
and it is utilizing that knowledge to enhance, local knowledge. And to enhance, as I said, farming and ultimately, of course, then food security. And there's
Uh-huh.
so many important matters. But maybe,
Mm.
maybe the Swiss are not exploitative in this context. But also, we went into that project as partners, and not that one body was funding us, and we was then supposed to
Kind
produce
of
the.
like work for them.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we didn't work for them. This was a
You
partnership.
work with.
We worked with them.
Okay. So what I'm hearing there is also framing the language of how the relationship comes. It's not we are being funded and we are working for. It's more like we are working with. Um, do you think
Yes,
language played an important thing in ensuring that that relationship is fair and balanced?
definitely. I mean, the proposal itself, the way it was framed,
Mm.
those guys came in with the money, but the researchers were local researchers.
Okay.
So the agronomist, for example, here, the communication experts were Kenyan experts
Right.
and African experts in the other, countries that I mentioned.
Right.
So they provided the funding, but all the advice, for example, that they received was based on, local expertise.
Okay.
So Kenyan communication experts, because our relation, our part was the communication now element.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been agricultural, research in agriculture, but there are so many elements in that, agricultural research. So
Right.
there's communication, for example, that is
Right.
oftentimes lacking in that
Right.
kind of science. And so how can we, for example, communicate messages and frame messages so that they're understandable to the local communities?
Uh-huh.
You don't frame it in scientific language, then people will find very difficult to understand. We wanted to make it as accessible as possible, as simple as possible so that even the people that are not literate, agricultural
Can
literate,
get it.
can get it
Okay.
and can benefit from that knowledge.
Okay.